Hey bud, welcome. We're going to be playing Satisfactory, a whole lot of Satisfactory. My name is Wesley Wade, and in my professional life, I have spent the last 20 years in supply chain and logistics. So this game caught my eye. I've been playing it a good bit recently on a different save file and thought it might be fun to start a new one along with you guys for the ride. I'll try and explain as much as I can as I'm going along. I will not be using any mods or really any outside help for this. To be honest, I haven't really watched any YouTube videos or used the Satisfactory planner tool. So it will really just be a full-on display of what I have figured out so far, and hopefully the finished product is something that we can all enjoy. We're going to be starting out a new file. I have only ever picked the grass fields, so we're going to start out in the rocky desert now that we know a little bit more of what we're doing. Let's go ahead and name our file and get dropped in. We're going to go ahead and skip the intro just because there's a lot of downtime and a lot of manual crafting that has to happen to start, and we can go ahead and skip a good bit of that. So let's go ahead and get in. One of the first things you're going to notice off the bat is that I actually use a controller to play. I know that's often considered suboptimal, but it's what I find most comfortable to use. So hopefully you guys can bear with me while we deal with that. First thing we're going to do is grab some materials. That big guy that you saw walking around there, he is non-aggressive. He just is kind of in the way. But I see that we actually have a crash site over here, and that is going to help immensely. So these crash sites, they're spread out all across the world, and they're often guarded by bad guys. Like you can see right here, these little boys are going to become aggressive to me, but really they're not hard to fight. As you can see, I can just sit up on this rock here and punch them all down. So all the animals that are aggressive in this game will drop items that you can use to make either healing items or turn it into DNA, which we will in turn make into points that we'll use into the item sync, but that's a good bit down the road. So this is actually going to be huge. These crash sites, like I mentioned, are filled with items that are often just in a stack and already pre-made, and you can also break down the debris of the wrecks for some additional items. However, the main pull and the main reason why you want to look for these is this pod right here that we can open up. It's going to require sometimes items. You can see down here, this requires 20 rotors. Normally we wouldn't have rotors for a long time, but since this is our lucky start, we are going to be able to use the rotors we picked up off the ground to go ahead and open it up. What this does is it gives us access to a hard drive, and hard drives are extremely useful because they allow us to learn new recipes. I've also seen it where I was given additional item slots, which was super useful. So once we get a little base established, we'll get that token. It takes 10 minutes in order to study a hard drive, and then you are given an option of a couple of different things that we can pick from that we want to have alternate recipes for. Pretty cool. Let me go ahead and start picking up some speed. You'll notice that I do a fair amount of slide jumping, and that is because with this game engine, you actually move a lot faster when you are doing that. So you'll see me doing a good bit of slide jumping. Normally in the tutorial, you would make this, but since we skipped the tutorial, we don't have to. It just gives it to us. We have these portable miners. What the portable miners are going to do is we can throw them down on resource nodes that will make up the building blocks of everything, and we can extract the ore straight from them. We have to do it manually right now, and it will hold up to a maximum of 100 ore. And you can see over there that it's pulling 40 ore per minute. So we'll go ahead and empty that. Let's go ahead and get this other one set up. Actually, there's 3 here that we're gonna go ahead and get moving a little bit on. This little flower right here is an enemy, and it will produce these, I don't know what they're actually called. I call them fireflies. They just come at you and will take a square health off. So if you rush them down, you can break them pretty quick. So while I am grabbing this iron ore, I'll explain a little bit the difference in the ore nodes. So there's 3 different levels of nodes. There's impure, normal, and pure. The different levels are going to give you different extraction speeds, and that will also differ based off of the miner that you have. I've only seen up to 3. I think 3 is the max, so let's go ahead and rush this down real quick. We're going to take a little bit of damage, but that's fine. What we can do is actually eat these nuts to get our life up. Later on, we'll be able to have better use for them, but for now, we'll just go ahead and eat them raw. We're gonna get some copper ore cooking here too, and then finally we're going to look for some limestone so that we can make concrete. Got a limestone pretty close actually, which is great. As we're moving along, we're just grabbing all the leaves we can. We're going to be turning that into biomass here very shortly, which is going to end up powering our individual miners and really gets the game going for us and lets us start automating some of these actions. So I'm gonna go ahead and mine this guy up. So what are my goals for this series? The first thing that I'm honestly looking to do is just to improve my speaking abilities. I am typically a pretty quiet person, but I'm getting into a place in my professional life now that I'm gonna need to be able to present and speak in a manner that is going to come off, as I would put it, sounding a bit more smarter than I actually do. So whether that is actually the case or not is yet to be seen, but I know that most people hate the sound of their own voice, so I'm no different. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this ore out. We'll go visit the copper guy, and then we're gonna go ahead and build our hub up and start getting some milestones cooking so we can get our base brewing. I turn off the ADA messaging just because it will interfere with our voice, my voice. There's only one of us. So it will end up appearing in your game if you don't turn it off specifically, just to be aware of that. So the hub we're gonna go ahead and build. Since we skipped the tutorial, just to let you know, the hub is kind of the first base that you build, and you can see that our pod is flying in. We'll be sending off materials from the hub up to the space elevator that we'll be building, and the space elevator literally is a huge structure that will reach up into space. Our ultimate goal is to turn this planet into a optimized fountain of prosperity that we will be able to take back to Earth, and I think that we're going to be pretty well equipped to do it. So tier 0 we've already accomplished, but just to give you an idea of what that looked like, we had to get the equipment workshop, the portable miner, which you've already seen, the smelter and power lines, which are a lot of very bare bone things that we're going to need to have in place. Power lines and the constructor, that's the first foundation, or not foundation, first piece of equipment that we'll be able to use to automate. We've got more conveyor belts, which is how we're going to move all our items. The miner, which we can automate now, and then the space elevator. So moving on to tier 1, what we can choose to use or build is field research, logistics, or base building. You know, I love me some logistics, so we're going to go ahead and skip that just because I would like to have that already in place so that we can get the hard drive running. So first things first, let's go ahead and throw down a constructor. We'll be rebuilding a lot of this once we unlock foundations, which really isn't too far. So we're just going to be getting this together for the first little bit. This first constructor is going to be our ability to turn leaves into biomass. As I mentioned before, we've just been picking them all up, everything that we see. What we're able to do is go ahead and take let's see, and then we have the biomass burner. Sorry, brain turned off there for a second. Buddy, I really need you to move. Sorry. I try not to make it a habit to attack the non-aggressive guys, but sometimes they're just in your way. If you give them a little whack, they'll run. You can see he is deathly scared of me now. Let me grab these nuts just so we can give them time to respawn, and let us build a storage container. What we're able to do with this is we can go ahead and put all of our leaves in there. We'll be able to hook it up to this connector and drop off all of our leaves. That'll start to move these into the constructor, or the biomass burner, or the constructor, sorry. And then finally, we will have them move into the biomass burner. As you can see, we need 25 wire. So let's bounce over to the crafting table and make that. We do still have to make still have to do a little bit of handcrafting, but as we get further in the game, I'm really going to try and avoid it as best I can. What we will also try to achieve is as much efficiency as possible. And what I mean by that is I don't want to let the game sit and just collect resources over time. That is naturally going to happen as we go out and explore and as we build in different areas, but I don't want to have it be a method of building up a lot of our products. So I'm going to manually build this and we will jump forward here just a sec. Okay, we're just about done making our copper ingots. For now, we're actually just going to leave it at that. Let's go ahead and make the wire that we need. As you can see, we're going to need a good amount of it. I'm just going to turn a lot of that copper into it. We'll be back once we have the 300 that we need. Okay, we got all of our copper ingots made. We're crafting up the last of our wire here that we'll turn in for the field research. Let's go ahead and make a handful of screws too, and that'll get us our first milestone, and then we can go ahead and get that hard drive cooking that I am pretty excited for. Never know what's going to be on it. So, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be looking up any guides or watching any other videos for how to play this game. I kind of want to go about it my own way. I'm sure that I know that there's a ton of efficiency builds and people who are just really fantastic at playing this game, and I am going to be handling my best, but that said, I am certainly no pro. You're going to see me make mistakes. You're going to see me have to start things over. I really want to kind of share that more human element with you guys and show you that even if you're not the best at a certain game, that you can put together a really great finished product. So, with that said, let's go ahead and drop in our items into the milestone and we'll launch the pod. I like to step out and watch it. You don't have to. It's just enjoyable to me. And there he goes. He'll come back and you can see on the top right, it'll return in about 3 minutes. So it's firing off that. We now have the ability to look at the map and make the So with that, we are going to look ahead at the tier 2 logistics. One thing I would like to go ahead and get cooking here is the obstacle clearing, which is the chainsaw, and it's going to add the solid biofuel. That's actually going to be huge for us to start, just to kind of clear the area and gather resources at a much faster pace than what you might expect. We're going to need a good bit more of concrete. What I'd like to do though is go ahead and get some power cooking so that we can start automating some of this. Again, one thing, as I mentioned, you'll see me make plenty of mistakes. Another piece of that is that I do a lot of backtracking. I'll do my best to try and edit out as much backtracking as I can, but I will leave some in there just so you know kind of how I am dealing with the game and the problems that come up and persist as a result. So let me go ahead and look this copper and we'll be right back. All right, good timing. So we now have all our ingots made. We're going to go ahead and make some more wire so that we can get the biomass burner going and get some buildings cooking. Okay, that's enough wire for now. Let's go ahead and make this biomass burner. And as you can see, a controller doesn't always offer the best solutions for connecting things, but what we will end up doing here is we're going to just take a little bit of wood, throw that in there, going to go ahead and make a power line. We'll connect the constructor, which is going to go ahead and turn our leaves into biomass, and now we can just drop any leaves that we pick up as we're running around in here, and it will continue outputting electricity for us. The biomass burner only generates 30 max, but that will be plenty for our efforts as we get going. So thank you so much for joining me on this first episode. We're going to continue on into the next day. Hope you stick with me. Thanks.